Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're listening. It's always a good time for Touchdown in Paradise here in the Fins Talk Sports Network. I'm Justin.
I'm Russ.
I'm Joe.
I'm Pete.
Another great weekend of college football, boys. Where'd you watch?
Texas Nation, son. Texas Nation. Whoa, why is it doing the lasers? What's going on with the lasers right now? What the heck? Texas Nation.
You got freaking Longhorns with laser beams on their heads.
I guess so. I don't know what the hell's going on. Laser? I don't know. Weird.
Laser?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just starting doing lasers. I'm not sure.
Consigliere Michelle?
I guess so, yeah. I watched it in Texas, Hook 'em, and it was a lot of fun. Had a great time dancing on some tables. Felt like I was 21 again. I can still party better than these college kids. That's all that matters, baby.
Oh, man, PD on 6th Street throwing it up.
Latchkey legend right here, dude.
Mm-hmm. Joe, how about you?
I was watching that Ole Miss game. I mean, talk about glaring holes in Georgia's offense and just team. That, I didn't think Lane could win the big game. Proved me wrong. Proved me wrong.
Russ, what'd you find really intriguing?
Well, first off, I just sat my ass on the couch all day. It was a great day, one of the best Saturdays. You just sit on the couch, crack a few beers, and watch some college football. Second, I did mention, I said Georgia. I thought Georgia would pull it out because of their defense. I was wrong, but I did mention Georgia's going to have a little problem, and it's been showing. Carson Beck with the last couple games, he's had 10 interceptions, and he had 3 on Saturday. So, I mean, I think they have a little issue on their hand. We'll see if they can make it to that. Pull it out. Still a tough road. Big game this weekend.
Yeah, we'll go right to that part of the rundown real quick. Ole Miss gets that signature program building win, defeating Georgia 28-10 at home. Jackson Dart with 199 pass yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Carson Beck did only have 1 interception, Russ, but UGA as a team had 3 total turnovers, which is pretty equivalent to what they've been the last 3 or 4 weeks. What is the problem here, Pete? What's wrong with their offense?
Obviously Carson Beck just won 1 pick, so I guess he kind of limited his mistakes because sometimes he can throw multiple. This game definitely threw me off guard, I'll be honest with you. I think on last week's podcast or the week before, I said I'm out on Lane. I said he can't win the big game. He's not doing it. And then they come out and beat Georgia, just like I thought Brian Kelly was going to get it done, and they got absolutely smacked at home. So maybe I'm not seeing the ball in the game that clearly. Maybe I don't know ball right now. I'm not sure, dude. But Georgia's offense, just looking at the total stats, right? They had like half as many yards as Ole Miss, about 100 less passing yards. They got more than doubled up on rushing yards. And then Ole Miss was just shredding them at 6.2 yards per play. So it just tells you where they were running it or throwing it, they were getting almost 10 yards of play. 6.2 yards, you fall another yard. It's basically a first down every time. It's nuts. Georgia's offense is not cohesive. I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, but Beck isn't making the big plays. They're just not performing. It's like which is not really Kirby Smart's vibe, to be up and down so much week to week. I guess that's why the Florida game was so close, and then Texas beat the shit out of Florida. So I don't really know, to be honest with you. I can't get a good grasp on them right now. I just know they're not playing good.
Talk about Kirby Smart. How about Curvy Smart? Anyone?
Yeah, straight up, dude.
Russ, What does this mean for Ole Miss, this win here? Huge,
Well,
obviously.
I'm going to go on Georgia first. I think one issue, obviously, besides just Carson Beck, is that offensive line for Georgia. They're getting Ole Miss got a lot of pressure, and that's been a key consistent in a lot of their games, is that Ole Miss not be able to give Carson Beck that nice, clean pocket that we saw last year. So I think that's one big issue. The other one, I mean, for Ole Miss, yeah, they gashed them in the run game. Defense didn't look good. Juice Wells had a big game, transfer from South Carolina. Big comeback from Jackson Dart early in the game. I think it's right. Everything's in front of Ole Miss. I mean, if you go out and you win even if you don't make the SEC title game, you win out, you're definitely sitting there pretty right in the playoff picture, maybe getting to host that first round, which I think, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, I think this year is a trial year for the 12-team playoff. And in the next couple of years, we're going to get teams that are going to be like, oh, I want a home game right off the bat. I want to play a playoff game at home instead of having that first four bye. Like, oh, I see maybe Tennessee gets it. I see a home game in Knoxville. That'd be amazing. I want that. So I see that changing, in my opinion, in a couple years.
No, that's interesting. And do you feel like that could lead to some teams purposely tanking toward the end of the year to get that, knowing they're safe?
I wouldn't say you would tank. I just kind of see that is such a big marketing factor and money. Because, I mean, it's a business now. Money. Bringing in all the eyeballs watching in the stadium, at bars, on TVs. I mean, the bars are going to be packed. I think it's just a money thing. So I kind of view that people are going to start wanting, like, hey, I'm seeing Ohio State have a home game. You know, this, as it was set up today, we could have a playoff game in Knoxville, a playoff game in Columbus right off the bat. Like that I mean, like you're not telling me Texas wouldn't want that, or Oregon at Austin Stadium. Like, I just see it going that way.
Oh, that's really interesting. Joe, back to the game here. What does this mean for Ole Miss and both Georgia going forward?
Well, first about Georgia, watching that game, the announcers kept repeatedly saying that Georgia is one-dimensional, and I completely agree. I mean, they relied on their run game. Etienne is obviously a bit banged up because, at the beginning of the year, they would ride him. He was the workhorse. And, I think he maybe had at best 15 carries that game, if that. And he's your best running back. How can you not have your best running back touch the ball, especially in a run-first system like Georgia, not touch the ball more than 20 times? So obviously he's not healthy. The other thing that the announcers kept mentioning up, which again is such a true point, when you lose two key guys on the outside in McConkey and Bowers, your offense is shot. You have to restart, find those guys, and Georgia hasn't found those guys, and it may be too late for them to find those guys. That's the beautiful thing about college football. Every week's a new week. Someone may pop up, but it's like you needed that person to pop up against Ole Miss, not the game after. For Ole Miss, I agree. Everything's in front of them. I don't think they're going to make it to the SEC championship. They can. It's still there, but the window is pretty small. But again, I think like what Russ was saying, if they win out, and even if they don't win the SEC or make it to the championship, they're still looking pretty with that win against Georgia. The only real way I could see is if Georgia continues to slide and, then that win doesn't look that impressive. But I think ultimately Ole Miss still has a lot to play for. And we'll see. The season is starting to wrap up a little bit, which is crazy to think. We're week 11? Time's flying when you're having fun, I guess. But there's still a lot of good football left to be had, and it'll be interesting to see who ultimately does pull it out in the SEC. Because now I feel like it's pretty much a crapshoot. You have Bama beating LSU, you have Ole Miss beating Georgia. Tennessee has a big matchup this week. There's a lot of football to be played, so we'll see.
I think Ole Miss should be. I mean, what they got Florida State, Florida, and then the Egg Bowl, so they should be able to win out.
But again, like that Egg Bowl though, that's like the Civil War with Oregon and Oregon State. You think Oregon's going to walk all over them, but Oregon State always plays them tough. Same with Mississippi State. Mississippi State has had a crappy year. They've been crap since RIP Mike Leach. But they'll always play Ole Miss tough. And is it in Starkville or is it in Oxford this year?
It's in Oxford.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, that definitely gives a little bit better of a opportunity. But still, you can't overlook Mississippi State in that rivalry game.
No, absolutely. And now we're going to go back to another upset here that happened over the weekend. Georgia Tech. Who made that call that it was going to be difficult? I didn't want Georgia Tech to win, but I said it. Yellow Jackets take down Miami 28-23. They end the undefeated campaign for Miami. Cam Ward had 348 yards, 3 touchdowns. Haynes King was 6 for 6 passing, 32 yards and a touchdown before he went down. He also added 93 rushing yards and a touchdown. Miami's undefeated season is gone. But Russ, are Cam Ward's Heisman hopes too?
No, he's still setting the Heisman. You can't give him that. He still had a pretty solid game. Still went for 25 for 39, 348, 3 touchdowns. So no, it's definitely not done. But I mean, what I saw of that game was definitely because I was tuned into that one. Best slate of the morning games. It's your defense. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Miami was back. They'd score. They couldn't stop the rushing attack. I mean, and you're doing it against a backup with Haynes King kind of beat up.
Georgia Tech did the exact same thing that they did to Florida State at the beginning of the year. They controlled the line of scrimmage and they ran the ball. They literally controlled the time of the game. And as you said, Russ, not to interrupt you, Cam Ward carried that team. He moved that offense all over the field. They would score, and then, as you said, the defense would let Georgia Tech have like a 11-play drive to score a touchdown. You can't be one-dimensional, even in that way when you have an electric offense, but then you have a defense that gives up 28, 35 points. I mean, what was the Cal game? The Cal game was 35. So it's like
38 to Cal they gave up.
Yeah, and it's like you can't give that up, especially if you want to compete for the national championship. Now they'll be there. There's SM. They have to watch out for SMU. That'll be a fun little championship game potentially. But you got to play better defense. You can't.
It's been their defense all year. I mean, they go.
Yeah.
They stop them. They stop them, and then Cam Ward had definitely 3 and out. Defense can't make a stop. But we did mention Xavier Restrepo last week. He did pass up Reggie Wayne for most Miami yards this year. So guys just breaking legends records at Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the names that he's passing.
And now Reggie Wayne. I mean, these are Hall of
Fame. Crazy, dude.
I mean, like Joe said, it's a defense. Cam Ward's one guy. I thought a little more because they do have a nice 3-headed monster receiving core and that rushing attack with Damian Martinez and Fletcher, and that is dynamic. So I thought it'd be a little more, but I mean, it's gonna come down to their defense. And when you get into those, because I mean, we probably all see Miami, even if they have 2 losses, they'll probably get into the top 12.
Yeah.
You're definitely you're gonna have to hang your hat on defense. And do you believe that Miami defense can make a key stop when you're playing against not Georgia Tech? You're playing against, a top team from the SEC or the Big Ten or FBS Independent.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I mean, Cam Ward, threw for 348 yards and 3 touchdowns. He completed like 70% of his passes or whatever. So it's definitely not on him. I mean, they lost it because they had the ball for 10 minutes less Georgia Tech was able to make 9 of 14 third downs, and they almost more than tripled the rushing yards on them. They just could not stop a nosebleed. And yeah, you're right. If they get into this big thing and they come up, I mean, even Jesus Christ, they go up against Boise State. What's his name's going to run all over them? It's like your defense got to step up, dude. So like even a team like Boise State, if they make it in, they get unlucky to play him or something like that could be a loss. Going up against a Heisman candidate and a running back. So yeah, it's just all defense. I mean, giving up 38 points to Cal. I mean, Christ Almighty.
Not to mention they gave up 271 yards on the ground.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
If you give up 271.
Yeah. You give up 271 and you only rush for 88. I mean, that's not a good ratio,
I might correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Miami's been top 10 in holding defense in rushing attack this year. Like top 10 best defensive rushing attack. Like teams are averaging like 98 yards against them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a triple that. Come on, dude.
But how are you going to win? Like what Alva said, how are you going to win a ball game if you give up 271? That means they're dominating time of possession.
That's Georgia Tech's MO. Their head coach is a former O-line coach. He preaches physicality and control the line of scrimmage. That's what Georgia Tech did to Miami, which is shocking because I would think the front seven of Miami would be a lot more athletic and be a lot more physical than Georgia Tech's front seven. And that was not the case. They manhandled them. And again, 270 yards rushing is absurd. Like that, that sounds like Navy's rushing like stat line.
Literally, exactly. And 9 of 14 on third down, which tells you they're getting to third down and they're probably still rushing it and getting an easy 1 or 2 yards for the first down. It's like it wasn't that hard for them. So yeah, and Miami's got a lot to figure out here. Thank God they got Cam Ward, who kept him in the game. But yeah, that defense is they got to do something about it.
NIL money well spent. Before we move on, one word answer from all of you. Recently, as in within the last hour, Miami still holds the number 4 seed in the playoff, ranked number 9. SMU is the second team out. Does this deserve to be the proper spot for both teams at this very time? Starting with Pete, yes or no?
I'm going to say no, just because I think SMU should be in. So that's all I'm going to say.
Joe?
I'm going to say no as well.
Russ?
Justin, I want to say more than one word because I got like 15 I want to say, but I'll say no.
Pete gave me more than one answer, so go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm just like my yeah, Pete, way to go. Thank you for opening up because I had a nice little rant. I'm kind of like I'm not obviously I got no dog in either fight. I just don't understand if we're putting schedule against schedule, who has the better win? And that would be SMU.
Yes.
And I think Miami will win the ACC. SMU has the better win. They beat Pittsburgh, who's number 20.
And a better loss against BYU, who's 7.
And a better loss. So I see Miami's it's Miami. We all know Miami. It's a face. It's a blue blood.
That is the only reason why they're 4. They have Cam Ward, who's a Heisman Trophy candidate, and they're simply Miami. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, should SMU? They probably will play each other. That's the thing. SMU has to hope they win out. Miami has a tough game against Pittsburgh this weekend, so you can't write them off there.
Absolutely not against Pitt.
Yeah, exactly. So
is this like?
I'm sorry, that's Clemson. That's my bad. That's Clemson. I'm thinking of Clemson. My bad.
Is this? I'm not getting the right wording. Like indicative or like showing the future of if SMU does play in the ACC title game and loses, are they going to get bounced right away for another team? Like, hey, we got 2 losses on the year. We made the ACC title game, 1 loss in the ACC, but we lose to Miami. Are they going to not get in the top 12 because of that, where you're going to have a 3-loss
potential SEC champion, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Or, a 2-loss Big Ten.
Russ, you said it earlier, man. You said this is a business. SMU does not bring in the same amount of money that a 3-loss Georgia team will bring in. Again, it's a business.
Well, it is a business, but I'm a football guy, so
Hey,
I'm
I'm
not
not
your money. I want to see the best product on the field. I want to see the best teams. And this is probably
I'm
going
not
off.
disagreeing with you. I'm just
It's
saying
probably
it's a
going off the
business.
exact opposite that, like, when I yelled at all you FSU people that they shouldn't have been in there because I want to see SC. But I mean, like they've had the best product over Miami. They had a better win.
But whose
Well,
fan base? Whose fan base? Who brings in more money? Miami does.
Yeah.
Alabama.
Yeah.
All right,
one.
we're going to move from this U that lost to this U that lost. University of Utah had a crushing defeat at home against BYU 22-21. So bad that there were some controversial calls that prompted Utah's AD Mark Harlan to get on the podium after the loss and say, quote, "This game was absolutely stolen from us. We were excited about being in the Big 12, but tonight I am not. We won this game. Someone else stole it from us. Very disappointed. I will talk to the commissioner. This was not fair to our team. I'm disgusted by the professionalism of the officiating crew tonight." Utah appeared to have stopped BYU twice on fourth down the final drive, but a defensive holding penalty was called on one of those plays. The officials also ruled BYU had called a timeout before the snap on the other one. As a result of all this, Brett Yormark, Big 12 commissioner, fined Harlan $40,000. Harlan did issue an apology. Joe, was this at all warranted? Was this right for him to do this? Let me hear from you.
I mean, ultimately, as I've said and we've said before, you can't hang your hat on one play or one call or one missed call. Football is a game of 4 quarters, and I mean, at half, Utah had the game in hand, so you can't blame some poor calls, some missed calls, or whatever, and say they took it from us. No, you win that game. You close the game out. It's 4 quarters. You continue to play. Now, with that being said, do I think some of those calls were correct? No, of course not. Especially the timeout. That timeout was so delayed that it was like, where did that come from? Like, it was a ridiculous call. Defensive holding, again, some goes for you, some goes against you. The timeout, though, if someone's calling a timeout, that play is dead, blown dead, done. You don't literally wait several seconds, let the play almost like happen, and then say, no, they call the timeout like before. Like, what? No. But it is what it is. You can't hang your hat on it. I don't like the AD going out on the podium and basically bitching about it, throwing a little fit. You kind of just have to keep playing on. You got to just keep moving forward. The penalty, though, I thought was a bit harsh as well, like $40,000 and an apology.
Yeah, what?
That's a bit harsh for, just speaking your mind. But again, you're the AD. You got to kind of just bite your tongue and just move on to the next week.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joe. They should have came out in the second half and won the game. You can't leave it up to the refs at all. Do I think those were both probably bad calls? Yeah, especially the timeout, like you said. Like, what the hell? Like, it should be done, dead, right there, end it. Like, no letting them play. No, it's like, what are you doing, refs? Like, come on. But yeah, you got to come out and win that game, dude. You got to come out and win it. Another point about the penalty. NCAA, you're already rich enough. Maybe force them to donate that to the school and get a kid a scholarship. Like, get the fuck out of here. Come on.
It wasn't even the NCAA. It was the Big 12. So
okay, Big 12. You already got enough money. Come on, dude. Like, force them to donate it to the school and make a scholarship or something. I don't know.
It's just the Big 12 probably trying to punish them and be like, you're now in our conference. This isn't the Pac-12 where
that's my word of this for the AD is, wait, this isn't Pac-12 after dark?
No, he did also say, he mouthed to the ref on the field who used to work for the Pac-12, this is why we fired you from the Pac-12.
Okay, hey, not gonna lie, I kind of like that. He still has a little something against the guy. That actually makes it more interesting.
Russ, they didn't score a single point in the second half, Utah did. They let BYU come back on that, despite the call, of course. You could have stopped them several more times on that drive. Was any of this warranted for him to do?
I mean, I get it. People get heated, get pissed in the heat of the moment. Probably not, but I mean, we've all said, I mean, you have 4 quarters, to get it done, and you didn't, like you said, you didn't score in the second half. You're up big.
Not even a field goal. Not even a field goal. You didn't get any points.
Yes, the call might have. All these calls affected the outcome of the final game, the stat line, but what happened before that? So you're yelling at the refs, but why don't you look at what your team did on the field in the second half when you didn't score, or your defense who let BYU come all the way back to go for the win? So was it warranted? Probably not, but people are, we're all human. So he's pissed off. He was heated, and he said what he said. You move on. You go on to the next game.
He's not wrong in his complaint, but ultimately, again, you have to first look at your team, look at yourselves, and as we've all said, if you don't score in the second half, you're opening the door for them to come back, regardless of missed calls or bad calls. You have to put up points. You simply have to put up points.
A single point, maybe can we get a field goal, a safety?
Yeah, exactly. Just one damn point. Come on.
You get something, maybe your kicker missed a PAT or something. I did not. I will apologize, guys. I live on the East Coast now. That game came on at 10 p.m. So it's a little late to stay up to watch the whole game. So I had to watch some highlights, but yeah, 1 point. Yeah, I mean, and like Joe said, you are the face of the university. Sometimes you just got to, eat shit and shut up.
Now, he clearly did that because he wanted to make some sort of wave and go viral to let the whole college football world know. Because you, as the AD, the face of the school, like you said, Russ, should not be getting up there on a professional level and doing that. Yeah, you want to stand up for your team and your fans, but you look like a laughingstock at the same time. This makes not just you look bad, but the whole university. And not to mention, too, after Utah went undefeated in 2008, beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, they sued the BCS to get into the Pac-12. This has not been a good look at Utah really the last decade. Yeah, they've been a very good team at times, but there's just little things here and there that contribute to that sort of stigma that's out there. Moving on real quick here. Other notable games around the league. Alabama dominates LSU in Death Valley, 42-13. Russ, Jalen Milroe, 185 rush yards, 4 touchdowns. He also had 109 through the air. How often is it that you lead with the rush yards from a quarterback? Is he back in the Heisman race?
I mean, yeah, I'd put him back. And like you said, it's that guy is so elusive. I'm not going to throw out, I scouted baseball for not a long time, a couple years. And the one thing I hated about it is hanging around scouts. They would always, especially the high school kids, they would throw comparisons to, this player, this guy is this is this. So I'm, I was like, why are we putting this on this? This guy's, 290 career hitter. Why are we putting this on this high school kid? So I'm not going to be like, oh, the guy reminds me of Lamar Jackson, but some of his runs reminded me of Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, his elusiveness and the way he got through some of those, just that, what was that one run where he's going, all of a sudden he just kind of whoop and goes. He's like, yeah, I'll get another 10 yards and go out of bounds. So, it was an absolute old school SEC style, take them behind the woodshed, beat down.
On the road, nonetheless. Moving on here. Army's dream season.
Death Valley, nonetheless, too, which is not an easy place to win.
Boys. Brian Kelly, prime time. Sorry.
Hey, who picked LSU? Show of hands.
That guy next to you, Russ, and that guy over there.
That's right.
I got the Ole Miss pick right, though. I got that one right.
Yes, you did.
Yep, I was 1 for 1, I guess, on the big ones. Army's dream season continues with a 14-3 win at UNT. Joe, what I thought was one of the coolest stats ever was they spent 13 minutes and 45 seconds on one drive and scored a touchdown, 21 plays. Now, although Army usually scores a lot more than this, what do you think slowed them down here on the road?
In all fairness, I didn't watch this game. There were other games on. I just want to tip the hat to Army. The fact that they are still just rolling is phenomenal. I mean, I feel like at some point they lose, but
Notre Dame in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, come on, bro.
Hey, again, that's in a couple weeks. Army is. I love the way they're playing, and the fact, like you said, Justin, a 13-minute drive, 21 plays. That has to be some sort of record. I would have to think pretty damn close. 21 plays for one drive, like that's like talk about inching your way up the field. Like that is ridiculous. But again, go Army. I love to see it. Navy's only 7-2, which I love to see as well. So with Veterans Day yesterday, let's go our armed forces teams. I love it.
That's right. Thank you to your service. Thank you for your service to all of our veterans out there listening. Colorado puts the bang on the Red Raiders, 41-27. Shador with 291, 3 touchdowns. Travis Hunter, 9 catches, 99 yards, and a touchdown. Pete, is Colorado going to the Big 12 title game? Is Travis Hunter taking home the Heisman? Tell me.
I don't think he's taking home the Heisman, but he's still balling out. And I do think Colorado has a chance to go to the Big 12 title game. I mean, the remaining schedule's against Utah at home, so that's not too bad, although Utah, they weirdly can beat anyone sometimes. They play Kansas on the road and then Oklahoma State at home. So I think they got a good shot to maybe lose one of those games. And if they do, I mean, that drops them to at least 3 losses. So I'm not sure how the whole ranking works, but I don't know if 3 losses will get you in the Big 12 title. I don't know.
This is what Colorado did to Texas Tech.
Okay, I was going to ask. This was the game that they were throwing tortillas on the field, right?
They do that all the time.
But were they doing that to the Colorado players? Was that why?
That's like their celebration. What was it a couple years ago? Like was in the 90s. Someone said all there is in Lubbock is Texas Tech and a tortilla factory.
That's how it started. That's right. And Joe, yes, that is what happened. They were throwing it at Colorado players, and the ref, when Dion said something, was like, your players keep talking every time they score, like barking at the crowd. And so he's trying to say it's warranted. Is it warranted?
Yeah, so get over it.
It's never warranted to throw anything at athletes again when they're doing something they love. And I know it's a tortilla, but it's like still it's unwarranted. Do your tradition, throw it out, but don't throw it at opposing players or fans type situation. That's kind of not the best look for Texas Tech. But again, if that's all they have, why not keep throwing tortillas?
It's a low-calorie, high-protein snack, dude. They're just looking out for the boys, all right? Dude, come on, bro.
They're giving them carb-balanced tortillas.
Yeah, come on, dude.
There's not much
when my dog gets hungry, she barks. And when these Colorado players get hungry, they bark. So the crowd feeds them. For
tortillas
just a day, you too can feed hungry Colorado players with your NIL contribution.
Well, didn't it come out? Like there was a video today that came out that if whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that prime time, if he wins the next 3 or 4 games, he gets like $100,000 added to his contract. So found that he can buy plenty of tortillas after that.
Mm-hmm. And somebody mentioned Colorado's got to face Kansas later this season. Well, Kansas had a huge surprise upset win this week. They upset Iowa State in a barn burner of the game at Arrowhead Stadium, not even in the state of Kansas, 45-36. The Big 12, it's always fun. For once, there is one team that's undefeated out there. Meanwhile, the SEC has got that Big 12 bug where they're all beating each other up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, I mean, because BYU's undefeated, right? That's the one undefeated team. Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to kind of see. Yeah, does 2 losses get you in? Can you get in with 3? I'm not sure who the second place team is, what their losses look like, but and then what happens if they beat BYU, even if BYU goes undefeated? Like, how does that affect who gets in the thing? I don't know, but Big 12 is definitely going to be interesting these next 3 weeks.
Well, as of now, Colorado's in second place with 1 conference loss. Right after them is Kansas State with 2 conference losses.
Well, and I mean, the other thing too is that with the Big 12 is, we talked about this last week. Almost any team in that top 7 teams could beat each other on any given day. And like what Pete said, it looks like even Utah, who's at the bottom of the tier, could beat anyone any given day. So it's just like, we'll wait and see. BYU does not look like a team that could go undefeated. I think at any point they could lose like that. So it'll be interesting to see.
No, absolutely. And next up here, Indiana wins a slugfest against Michigan. The school is 10-0 for the first time ever. Kirk Cinetti, Coach of the Year, is still on that train to the end. Next week, they're off, but after that, they get the big one, Ohio State. So they've got that date circled. We all know it. They get a whole week to prepare for it. Russ, if you had to pick the game today, who wins and by how much?
Really, Justin? Really? Throwing me on the spot. I got Ohio State by 10.
By how much?
By
10. Okay, that's fair. What about you guys?
I have the Buckeyes. I have the Buckeyes, and I agree, but I'm going to say 14.
Okay, 14. Pete.
I got Indiana by 10 points.
I just feel like the narrative is so far behind Ohio State, and Indiana's the great story, but it comes crashing down when the real narrative team comes through. And I'll say Ohio State wins by 3, a field goal.
I think the Indiana coach, though, is better than Ohio State's coach, Ryan Day. So to me, I'm putting a lot into that. And then he has 2 weeks to prepare. So give a guy who's 10-0.
Pete, are you going to put your money on the pick?
I think I'm going to. So just saying, 2 weeks to prepare, 10-0, coached under Saban. Ryan Day sucks. I don't know.
Oh, that pick could age like Bitcoin right now. Who knows?
I'll say this right now. I will not be surprised if Indiana wins, but I think the fact that Ohio State is routinely in these big games. They experience it. They know how to perform in it. Where Indiana, this will be the first time they've been 10-0. They're playing in a primetime game. I would not be surprised that will be the game day of the week. How do they handle those emotions? And I think ultimately they're going to be too much, on top of they're playing a much better team in Ohio State. They struggled against Michigan. And Michigan is shit this year, and they struggled with them for a bit. So
and it's in the big house. I mean, not the big house in the horseshoe.
No, it was at home in Bloomington this past week.
Yeah, it was a home game. Yeah.
They're playing Ohio State in Columbus.
Oh, yes, correct. Yeah.
So it's in the horse.
Hey, okay, so quick question. Just because the Big Ten, okay, Indiana 10-0, Oregon 10-0, Ohio State 8-1. What if Indiana? I think they're going to beat Ohio State. What if they lose to Ohio State and then win out, and Ohio State wins out? Does Indiana miss out on the college or on the Big Ten championship game, and then also ultimately miss out on the playoff because they lost 1 game to Ohio State?
Because Ohio State would have a leg up on them, and Oregon undefeated in there would be there automatically, so they'd meet the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
I don't see how you leave out Indiana though. That team, maybe they'll be the 12.
They won't miss the playoff, that's for sure. They'll be there, but the Big Ten title game Pete was asking about.
Yeah, they'll definitely miss. They'll definitely miss.
But how does that work then? So if the Big Ten title game, say that it is Ohio State versus Oregon, and that's like a rematch. Say Ohio State wins, gives Oregon their first loss or whatever. So both teams have 1 loss. Indiana has 1 loss. That's 3 Big Ten teams. Can 3 Big Ten teams get in with how many SEC and other schools are trying to get? I don't know. I'm just saying it'd make it interesting.
4 of them are going to get in because Penn State's going to get in too.
So 4. Okay, so 4 out of the 12. Okay, yeah, okay.
I will say this now. I will take Indiana if they lose to Ohio State, then Penn State and their loss to Ohio State. Penn State,
Sure.
They don't impress me. They're beating everyone they need to beat, and when the big game comes around, they lose. So
Yeah.
I'll take Indiana over Penn State.
Mm-hmm. Last game we're going to focus on here. Texas slaughters Florida in Austin 49-17. The last time they met, by the way, I was in Dallas this weekend, and I mentioned this because I looked it up to my 84-year-old grandpa. The last time the Gators met the Longhorns was when he was 4 months old, 1940. By the way, this was also the first points the Gators have scored against the Longhorns in 100 years. 7-7 tie in 1924. Little piece of trivia right there. And Pete, you were right outside the stadium.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. They were beating the shit out of them, so people started leaving early and catching us at the bar. But yeah, nuts. I really wanted to go to the game, but I didn't realize those stats, Justin. That's why the tickets were so expensive. Now, obviously, everyone there told me that that's how they always are, but like $500-$600, the cheapest ticket. I was like, that's weird, not even like a $200 ticket. So, but that makes sense. That's probably why.
Now wait until you see the tickets for the A&M Texas game, last game of the year.
Oh,
Most
Jesus.
expensive ticket of the whole season, any game. Okay, before we move into our parlay, I'm going to open up a quick new segment here called Teams Not Getting Enough Love. And if there's a team on here that you feel like is not getting enough love, please jump in here. But I'm going to start with Arizona State, 8-2 in their first year in the Big 12, along with Washington State, 8-1 with their only loss coming to Boise State. Now, they don't have a conference. They've got an uphill battle to get into the playoff. Any of you see any team that's not getting enough love here?
Yeah, I'm never going to say Arizona State, Justin. That's not going to have – I don't care if they're 8-2. They still suck. Go back to your campus where you know what's going on there, what's going around in Tempe. Just like what's going around if you know anything about Texas Tech. Yeah,
The Raider Rash, I believe.
Raider Rash, that is correct. Yeah, Washington State's definitely that was a good pick. SMU.
Yeah, I was going to say SMU.
SMU.
After getting snubbed from the current playoff standings, I agree with that.
But it's a long it's a long year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to play out right in front of our eyes.
Thank you, guys. Joe, anything before we go?
No, I mean, I agree with that. I was looking at the standings right now. I mean, yeah, SMU not getting a lot of love. If you would have asked this question 2 weeks ago, I would have said Colorado. I'll just throw it out there. Army's not getting enough love. 9-0.
Undefeated. Okay, now it's time for that time of the week. The Paradise Parlay. Let's go. Starting off with Clemson at Pitt. Tigers in the pit trap. Clemson is a 10-point favorite on the road here. 54 is the over-under. Clemson minus 380 money line. Pitt plus 300. Starting with Pete.
So for this game, I'm going to go all in on Clemson. I got Clemson money line to cover, and then I got the over. I just think they're going to I know the game's at Pittsburgh, which is not an easy place to play ever, but I think Clemson's going to get this one done, and they're going to probably win by maybe 17 points.
All right. Was that all in Clemson intentional there? Because that's actually what they say.
Completely intentional.
Yeah. Russ.
Yeah, I'm a little opposite of Pete. I think it's going to be like a 9-point victory for Clemson. So I think Pitt covers narrowly. But I got Clemson winning, and let's go with the over.
Joe.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the mix here. I mean, I know I was looking at who's the better team, Clemson. So I'm taking Clemson money line. So the real question was the spread. 10 points is a lot, and Pittsburgh is at home. So I agree with Russ. I'm giving Pittsburgh the plus 10, and then I'm going to take the under. I think ultimately this will be more of a defensive slugfest than really anything offensively.
Not so fast, my friends. Remember, this is the pit trap we're talking about. Teams who go to Pitt late in the year don't get out alive. Let's remember what happened to Miami in 2017. last game of the season, go to a 3-win Pitt team and lose their undefeated season. They go on to lose against Clemson the next week in the ACC title game. Then they go on to lose to Wisconsin in the Orange Bowl. I'm not saying history is going to repeat itself, but I'm going to pick Pitt with the upset here. And I like what Joe said. I'm going to take the under and Pitt money line. Texas at Arkansas. Texas is a 13.5-point favorite on the road. Over-under here is 57.5. Texas minus 530. Arkansas plus 400. Russ, start us off.
I'm going to go with the Texas win. I'm going to go with the Arkansas cover. I'm going to go with the over.
Mm-hmm. Joe.
Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward to me. Texas is just the better team. Texas win. Texas with the 13.5, and I'm going to take the over.
Arkansas has given the Longhorns some trouble over the years. I do think Texas is the better team, and they'll win, but it won't be as big as this spread is indicating. So my cover of the week is going to be Arkansas covering the 13.5. I'm going to take the over just because I feel like both teams are going to go back and forth, and I'll take Texas to win. Pete.
I'm just going to take Texas across the board. They beat the shit out of Florida. I think they're kind of rolling. And also Quinn Ewers is able to get some rest. So I'm taking Texas across the board.
Arizona State at Kansas State. Kansas State is a -9 spread favorite here at home. Over-under is 50. Kansas State minus 325. ASU plus 260. Starting with Joe. Give it.
Yeah, I mean, my gut tells me to go with Kansas State, but I think, again, is Arizona State being a little overlooked? So I'm going with Arizona State plus 9. It's the Big 12, so they're going to put up points. So I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to say Arizona State with the win.
Oh, okay. Russ, I know you hate Arizona State. Are you wrong?
You might as well make it a 17. Give Arizona State 17 points for Christ's sake. I might buy that line up. Like, let's go. Kansas State. Wildcats can beat them down. So I got Kansas State across the board and over.
Pete.
I'm going Arizona State to cover, money line, and over. Same thing with Joe. I got a good feeling about Arizona State here.
I just feel like people forget how good of a team and a program Kansas State is. Yeah, they have stupid losses every year here and there, but in the end, they're always in the mix for the Big 12 title, and they always blow out the good teams. So looking at this, I'm going to take the Wildcats to cover. I'm going to go with the over, and I'll take Kansas State with the money line. Our game of the week here, Tennessee at Georgia. Tennessee at the top of the SEC standings. Georgia falling down quickly, but they are 10-point favorite at Sanford Stadium out there in Athens. 48.5 over under. UGA minus 375. Tennessee plus 295. Let's start with Pete.
This is a tough one because I could see this as being a Georgia bounce back game, or I could see it as being Tennessee coming in there and slinging it. Now, I know against Bama, they turned the ball over in the red zone, which you're not going to be able to do that against Georgia and have any success. God damn it. Give me Tennessee. Let's go. Across the board, baby. I think Georgia, something's going on here, and I don't think they're going to fix it in 1 week. They haven't fixed it all season based on the losses that they've had, even the wins that they've had. So I'm taking Tennessee to cover money line. And what's the over-under, Justin? We're looking at I'm going to go under. I think it might be like a 47 to – or it might be like a 27 to 20 game. It might be like a one-touchdown game.
Georgia's been around the last couple of weeks in Jacksonville to face Florida and then in Oxford to face Mississippi. Now they're back home facing a good Tennessee team. They're desperate for a win. They're not going to let the playoff committee have an easy decision here with the SEC. Georgia wins. They cover. I'm going to take the over. Georgia money line. Russ.
All I got to say, boys, is Rocky Top, you'll always be home, sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. Let's go. Tennessee with the W. Obviously, they're going to cover. They're going to win and the over. They're going to get a little after they beat Bama in that magical game a couple of years ago. They got their ass kicked against Georgia. They're going to come back. They're going to get this win, keep it going. cruise right into the playoffs.
Joe, close it out.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because I remember seeing Tennessee's offense a couple weeks ago, and it couldn't even move the ball. It was just a terrible offense. But that's the beautiful thing about college football is you can fix things in a couple weeks. I'm gonna take Tennessee with the 10 points. I'm gonna take the over because I do think both teams can put up points. Now the real question is the money line. Who do I think is gonna pull it out? It's gonna be close. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 3-point game. I'm gonna go with Georgia since it's at home. So Tennessee with the plus 10, the over. But I think Georgia's gonna pull it out. They're not gonna make it easy, like Justin said.
All right, we're divided 2-2 once again in our game of the week. You love to see it. That's why we are a podcast of controversy, people. Our prediction, upsets, covers, and games we're watching. I already said that my upset's going to be Pitt over Clemson, and my cover is going to be Arkansas against Texas. Some of the games, it's not a very exciting weekend out of the games I picked here, I don't think. So I'll be watching around for sure, but I'm going to be paying close attention to the ones that we picked just now. Joe.
Yeah, I agree with you, Justin. I was looking at the schedule. There's not a lot of good games that really caught my eye besides the ones that we talked about. Obviously, Tennessee, Georgia will be a great one to watch. Texas, Arkansas, Clemson, Pitt. I'll be watching Notre Dame, Virginia as well. But I have 2 upsets. I already called one of them, Arizona State over Kansas State. And my other one is Nebraska plus 9.5 over SC. It is at SC, but that team just looks defeated and just looking forward to the offseason. So I think Nebraska is going to come into LA and beat SC.
Not to mention the probation they just got put on.
That's true.
Yeah, benching Miller Moss, too. A lot going down here in LA. Russ.
We spoke about the games. There's not like a ton beside that UGA Tennessee game, the real UT. Obviously, Clemson Pitt. We highlighted last week. We thought Clemson would be a tough game against Virginia Tech. Wasn't really that. So I like to bounce back. I'll be watching that game. I got Kansas covering against Colorado.
All right, fair pick. I like it. Pete.
So I got 2 covers of the week here. I got Stanford covering 19.5. They're at home versus Louisville. For some reason, I feel like Stanford covers these games a lot, especially at home. So I'm taking them to cover 19.5. And then I think Boston College, granted, they're going to be on the road, but what Bill O'Brien's the coach or whatever, they're kind of a pro-style team. I think he can cover 15.5 points against SMU, simply just based on that. So those are my 2 kind of covers. I already mentioned the upsets. I had Tennessee over Georgia and whatever the other one I was mentioning. But, those are my 2 covers of the week.
With Pete being the scorekeeper this year, he's going to be like dominating us with everything because he's got so many upsets and covers. He's just, I called about 4 this week, so I got 80 points this week, boys. You're down.
Well, he has to make up for the ones he's missed, so that's why he's picking it up.
That is true.
I got you, Pete.
Checking in on the Heisman race real quick, Dylan Gabriel became the all-time touchdown leader in FBS history with 179. It only took him, 6 years to do this? I think he's only played 4 more games than Case Keenum did, the previous leader. So congratulations, DG. The majority of those did come at UCF, by the way, not to humbly brag. Ashton Jeanty had 209 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. What can we say? The man is a beast, right, guys?
No other word for it.
Absolute stud.
Mm-hmm. But what are his chances of actually winning it, Joe?
It's going to be tough. It's a lot closer than I think it really is. Dylan Gabriel has looked great. Travis Hunter, 2-way stud. Is incredible. You can't forget about Cam Ward. Honestly, there's, in my opinion, not one clear. You can make an argument for each one. I'm on the hype train for Jeanty, though. I would love to see another running back win the Heisman. And again, he's putting up Barry Sanders numbers. Love it.
Playing a lot more games than Barry, I will add, though.
True, but still, his numbers are ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think just simply based on the numbers he's putting up, he has a shot. But I still think Cam Ward's gonna come through with it. But I mean, just simply based on what he's doing, and the last 3 games that they got, really, there's only one good team that they're playing, which is kind of Oregon State, who's kind of whatever. They got San Jose State and Wyoming. Now, granted, both those are on the road, and Wyoming's never an easy place to play. But he can really kind of rack up the extra stats here to put some pressure on the other guys the next 3 weeks.
Not just that, they've got to watch out because they've got Army creeping right behind them in the rankings.
That's true.
If they should falter, Army's undefeated.
Not for long.
Couple weeks away. Jalen Milroe, we already mentioned. Russ thinks he's absolutely back in the race, but I want to get Joe and Pete's take on that.
Yeah, I mean, that was his defining game. The way he played was out of this world. You know, there's one other comparison, and Russ, I'm with you on making comparisons. Not a big fan of it. Cam Newton. I saw a lot of Cam Newton in that game this past weekend. Dude is 6'6", 250, and he's that lightning fast. Those are probably not his exact stats, you know, height and weight, but still, it's the fact that that's a big boy and he runs really fast. You know, so yeah, he's definitely back in it. Is he going to win it? No, I don't think so. But that was definitely a defining game for him.
I agree. He's back in the race, but he's not going to win it.
I just feel like there's been too many mental gaffes along the way for him that they're going to point out and nitpick. Yeah, he'll put up gaudy numbers in November and probably get his way to New York. But when you look back at those little moments, are these really Heisman moments where he choked at Vanderbilt, choked at Tennessee, and then just here and there, ill-advised moments against Georgia too?
Well, in the Georgia game, the highlight of that game was his receiver. It wasn't even really him. So
the other thing too is, I mean, yeah, you can't have a blemish like losing to Vanderbilt and be the Heisman. Like you can't. Like it's just, if you're the Heisman, you can lose like Cam Ward did to Georgia Tech, but losing to Vanderbilt and then following that up with Tennessee, you can't do it. Too many mental lapses, like you said, Justin.
Russ, quick response?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to wrap things up here today with our cheers for the week. Let's start with Russ today.
Well, I was giving some of you guys the light to get off and shut up because it's getting late here and I'm getting tired. So I was giving you that light that they give the actors to, you know, get off the stage, whatever it is. Yeah. My cheers of the week is I thought I was going to go after someone, so I'm not going to steal his thunder. But my cheers of the week is to college football. Just never disappoints us. Even when it's supposed to be bad, it gives us a great weekend.
Joe.
Yeah. So my cheers of the week is to all of our veterans. I mentioned this before. Thank you for all your service. Thank you for all you do, you know, again, to make this country the best country in the world. You know, we would not be here if it wasn't for you guys sacrificing endlessly to protect our freedom. So thank you to our veterans. You know, we wouldn't be here without you.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you to our veterans out there listening once again. Mine is to my friend Donu, who put on a great gala in Dallas this weekend that I got to go and help MC. Congratulations, and go check out the nonprofit called Nerve, N-R-V-E, nerve.org is where you can check it out. Pete, close us out.
I have two. The first one is to the city of Austin for showing me and my buddies a great time. You can never go wrong in Austin. Latchkey legend over here. And it was a great week. Texas won. Everyone was in a good mood, so it was pretty ripping. And then my second one, it's already been all over the internet and all that stuff. Herbie's dog, Ben, passing away, had me crying when I was on my phone. It was my bed watching. I was sobbing. So everyone out there that has a dog, hug them, love them, and try to take them on more trips, just like Herbie was doing. You know, your dog only lives for maximum maybe 10 to 15 years. Take them with you places. Don't just keep them at home.
Thank you, Pete. Beautiful tribute. We were all crying, admittedly, when we saw that. And because of that, before we end the show, we're going to take a moment of silence to remember the goodest boy in all of college football, Ben Herbstreit. Thank you all for tuning into the Finstock Sports Network. This is Touchdown in Paradise. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Justin.
Russ.
I'm Joe.
I'm Pete.
We're signing off till next week. See you then.